I had a really interesting consultation this morning, and I thought I would share it with you because it's quite different than most of my consultations. I don't deal with rooftop gardens. This is something that in 42 years I've never done this, but I got called out to look at a tree in a pot. I do look at trees in pots, and I do look at yard situations and atriums and things like this, but this particular tree was in a moderately large containment, but it was declining, so I had to do a bit of detective work. So follow along and see if you have any other ideas or thoughts on what may be going on here yourself, and please leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Okay, I'm downtown San Jose on the 16th floor on 225 West Santa Clara Street, and what we have is a rooftop garden here. We've got two weeping atlas cedars that I was informed were planted here about 13 years ago. And the client is concerned about why this cedar does not look as good as the adjacent one. Both of these containers are approximately 6 to 7 feet in diameter with a depth of about 20 inches or so. It looks like it's raised up a little bit. So my observation here is that because these trees are in a container and they have an irrigation system, that all I can do really is give you my best educated guess as to what's going on. But the looks of the loss of the foliage, the yellowing of the foliage down here by comparison to the adjacent one, I'm going to guess that this tree is not, or this container is not draining very well. Now, of course, the only way that I can really tell that is to excavate down and really inspect deeply. So I advise you to do that yourself. Some of the discovery is only going to be accomplished by, unfortunately, tearing this apart. Now, there's an artificial rock here, which is probably hollow underneath, which prevents evaporation in here. You've got a lot of ground cover, which also prevents evaporation. Now, why there's a difference is a difficult thing to answer, because it'd be really easy to say, well, why isn't this tree declining? Maybe the percolation of the water leaching out of this one is a little better off. Maybe this one has not completely encapsulated the root system. There's a lot of maybes here, and unfortunately you have to do a little bit of detective work. Another observation that I'm making here is you've got an area of bark that is exposed to direct sun, and you've got some drying out underneath here. So you may have a little bit of trunk canker developing in here, or sun scald associated with the heat that just bakes on this portion of the tree. My final guess is going to be that because this tree is 13 years old and it's growing in a pot, in essence it's a big bonsai. So the entirety of this area is probably fully encapsulated with roots, and I don't imagine that you've ever done any root pruning or excavation or maintenance as you would do with a bonsai. I keep referring to this as a bonsai because in essence that's what it is. It's a big tree in a small pot, albeit 6 by 6. It still needs to have the same kind of maintenance that you would do for any tree that's kept in a pot for too long. As trees develop, the root systems will completely overwhelm their growing environment. And in a native growing area, you have roots that would extend out for 10 to 15 feet in all directions, but they would grow radially, and that is much easier to manage. But when you have this kind of a containment, I'm going to guess that it's fully encapsulated with roots. So to summarize, I'm going to say that my guess is that the percolation is not great in here, and you've got an excess of standing water. I put my hand down as far as I could go. It's wet. This is a difficult time to evaluate that because it has been raining quite a bit. I don't know what the watering schedule is like, but somebody really needs to monitor this. And while it needs water continually, it can't stay saturated, so it needs to thoroughly dry out between waterings. So my advice is not to do any more pruning on this tree, because constantly shearing it down is taking away what little foliage it's got. I see some new growth popping out, but I see a lot of the old stuff falling off as well. So stop pruning it for a while until it recovers, if it'll recover, and you'll have to do some monitoring of the environment here.